Okay, the the attendee count has seemed to level off in the mid 80s. So with that, we'll open this regular meeting of the Montoursville Area School District Board of Directors on this Tuesday, August 11th. At this time, Brandy, I'd ask that you do a roll call.
Mr. Albert.
Mr. Albert here.
Dr. Berry.
Dr. Berry here.
Mr. Kunkel.
Mr. Conkle's here.
Mrs. Marriott.
Marriott here.
Dr. Mathers.
Dr. Mathers here.
Mr. Ruffing.
Mr. Ruffing here.
Mr. Schimmel.
Mr. Schimmel here.
Mr. Snell.
Mr. Snell here.
Mr. Ulmer.
Mr. Ulmer here.
Okay, and I guess I'll make note at this time, we had an executive session prior to this meeting for, I guess, many overlapping reasons, personnel, contractual issues, security issues, a mishmash, let's say, of those items that seem to blend together. So that was prior to this meeting. With that, we'll move into the agenda for the night. And item 1B is for recognitions and presentations. And actually, as part of the superintendent's report, superintendent will be moving a portion of her report to this time now, and she'll be giving the public a review of how we landed at where we are at this point in time. So, Christina, go ahead.
Thank you, President Schimmel. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your attendance this evening at our school board meeting. It is nice to see many of you online with us, and that allows us to share more factual information about what has been going on. Since March, obviously, you know that your children have been home, and there have been changes that are made to the educational system across the state and across the nation. As we have been trying to come together as a leadership team of about 15 individuals with us, we try to evaluate so many different options. And we have come down to the point where there are only 3 options for school. One is a remote possibility, and we do have an online remote. It's called the Warrior Online Learning System. If this is something that you are interested in, it can be found on our website under WOL. And that possibility for you would look like all remote learning. So if you're not comfortable having your students come back into school, you can utilize this new system that is a Montoursville product, but we are partnering with another public school who has provided remote learning possibilities for the last 8 years. They are the professionals at this. There are many school districts who do partner with them. We felt that that was a very valuable option for our parents to have. It is not taught by our teachers. Mrs. Denise Clark is who is in charge of this as our remote coordinator, and she is the person who is our district liaison for this particular program. So we do have that option for you as parents who may not wish to have your children back in school. And then we must consider remote options if we are now being told we have moved out of the red, yellow, and green phases that were put forth by the Department of Health and the governor's office. Those will no longer be used. And yesterday, they shared with us a new matrix that is going to be used as a recommendation for schools and the instructional models that they are going to be proposing. Now, all of you who are here probably know that we have chosen a hybrid model prior to this model being the recommended model by those state agencies, along with the Pennsylvania Department of Education. And we did that for a number of reasons. So let's go into our health plan first that we're going to be discussing this evening. Will be on our website. You'll be able to look at that health plan and review it at any time you wish. You may ask questions at any time. I try to return emails back to you within a 24-hour period. I want you to know that we do hear you and we are valuing what you are sharing with us, and we always make sure that we respond. So let's show you our hybrid model will stay the same. It will be A's and B's, with breaking students into those groups who will go Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday will be a cleaning day. That will be where we will have our staff do more deep cleaning in the buildings than just the regular cleaning that we have. We have a lot of equipment coming, and once we have all of those pieces in place, we can really move much faster than the manpower that we have right now. We have hired individuals to be part of our custodial staff, and it should really work very well, especially having this hybrid model in place for the cleaning measures that we need to take within the buildings. We had thought through the hybrid model, and I said to you in my email to the community, it was our least favorite option. We don't like fully remote either, obviously, but we really don't like hybrid because of all of the circumstances that it creates and all of the complexities that it creates for you as the parents, and then for us in attendance and so many other ways as well. So I want to just remind everyone, not one of us created this situation. We are trying to learn from it and grow and continuously move forward with it. I would like to share some of the state's new recommended models here with you and show you that in choosing the hybrid, they are also supportive of that decision. And Sebastian, may I please be enabled to share my screen?
You are good to go.
Thank you. Okay. Give me just one moment here. This is the state's website. You can find this information at education.pa.gov, and you can go into determining instructional models during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think it's important that we review this information because we do have varying levels of understanding of what's happening within each of our communities across the state. And this shows you exactly what's happening across the state. So as we look at the determination of an instructional models, I want to spend some time on the paragraph right here that speaks to the recommendations contained in this guidance rely on two standard public health metrics: the incident rate and the percentage positivity of diagnostic testing. The incident rate is how many new cases are happening within our community, and then how many new cases and the percentage of positivity out of those tested. That's what those two terms mean in a very brief summary of what that looks like. So we actually have dashboards that we're going to share with you to show you what Lycoming County is sitting in right now. And I will say, if we get back up here, this was created August the 10th. So this was created yesterday. It was put together. It is supported by the Pennsylvania Department of Health, the Pennsylvania Department of Education, as well as the governor's office. So these are recommendations. These are not, they will not take local control away from school boards at this point. However, these are three entities who are governing the state and telling us what we should be looking for. So let's look at these sections right here in the blue. The first is when things are considered to be low. And what does low actually mean? It means that you have less than 10 people per 100,000 residents within the most 7 days testing positive for COVID. And the word is used and, not or, and the percentage positivity out of those tested for the most recent 7 days is less than 5%. The recommended instructional model is either a full person or a blended learning model. So right now, our county is not considered to be low. We are considered to be moderate. And when we look at the moderate category, what you're seeing to be considered moderate is that you have more than 10 positive people testing a day, and you have less than 100 testing positive. So you are within a range between 10 and 100, or you are maintaining a percent positivity rate that is between 5 and less than 10%. That means that we need to stay in either a blended learning model, or it is recommended to go fully remote at that time. This is where Lycoming County sits, and I will share some of those pieces with you as we move forward from this slide. And then you move to the substantial, which means that you have 100 or more people within a community of 100,000 residents testing positive, or you are greater than that 10% positivity rate. And there they are recommending full remote learning models. I think the next section is very important for us to understand, and this is where they're talking about transitioning between instructional models. So I would like to read this together, because this is many questions that I have received is, when do you plan on moving from one to the other and back again? So it says a county's corresponding threshold may change week by week as incidence and percent positivity rates rise and fall. In order to confirm stability of county transmission, when a county's corresponding threshold changes, school entities should wait to see the results from the next 7-day reporting period before considering a change to their instructional models. So in other words, what that's saying is, should we see something change, we don't immediately jump the next day. We wait at least 7 days. It goes on to say, to ensure the most effective for transitions for students, it may be appropriate for a school to wait even longer, up to a full marking period, to transition into a model that increases in-person instruction. So they're giving districts the latitude, and boards of school districts the latitude to say, okay, what is best for the students? And you can wait up to a full marking period to put students back in school on a 5-day-a-week model. What is highlighted below that here, this is critical, because it says, it is important to note that a significant and/or widespread outbreak may require moving to a more remote-based model more quickly. So the 7 days is established if we're moving back into the 5 instructional day models, but we could be moving into a remote model much more quickly. And I believe that the reason that they have this statement in here is, number one, to match exactly what you're seeing up here in low, moderate, and substantial, but it is also to have the flexibility that when COVID does hit your district, you move immediately into remote. And some of the other questions that I have been asked are, will we close buildings down, or will we close down as a district? And that will be based on what the Pennsylvania Department of Health shares with us about contact tracing, and what we can then share with them about the contact tracing of our students. So for example, if you have a student in your home who walks to school, who may be an only child, and they are the one who contracts COVID, we may not need to shut down every building. We may need to just shut down one building. We are waiting. We have provided a model from the superintendent's organizations and all of our professional organizations that we've been working with pandemic coordinators. We have shared a model that we believe would be reasonable. And of course, the professionals at the Department of Health are reviewing that model to determine how many days do you shut down. And we believe that when it comes back from the Department of Health, it will look very similar. So if we're in a low transmission status, then you won't have to close down for a long period of time. But if you're in moderate or substantial, you could be shut down for 14 days based on a case of COVID hitting your buildings or your district. And that's why I wanted to put in my letter that this is not going to be the usual year. This is going to be quite an unusual year for us and for you. I said to one of the persons that I was speaking with today that I cannot remember a time as a parent where we were scrambling like this. The only time that I remembered in my time of parenting young ones was 9/11. And many of you were not parents at that point, obviously, but you might be grandparents now, and you may remember your children. And you may remember that it was a tumultuous time. We thought it was the world coming to an end, and we were scared. And there was a lot of emotion around that as well. So that seems to pale in comparison to what all of you are dealing with now. That has gone on for months and months. So let's see, where are we right now within our community? And I think it is this tab. Let me go back and find the appropriate tab for you that I have. My apologies, my screen is sitting on the top of this. Let me see if I can. All right, 1 second. I apologize. Here we go. This is the dashboard that will be used and updated by the Department of Health every week. So when we look at this dashboard, what I have done, and again, this can be found at health.pa.gov, and it is under the monitoring dashboard for us. I've highlighted Lycoming County, and I would like to go through the dark blue numbers here first. I won't spend time on the confirmed cases or the pieces that don't have any attributes that speak to the incident rate and the percentage of positivity, but I will just speak to those two pieces. If we look right here, the incident rate is 39.2, meaning in the week of July the 24th through July the 30th, it was 39.2% people that we had test positive. The percentage positivity was at 4.1%. So you can see that we're still considered moderate during that week because 39.2 is higher than the 10 that is recommended to be considered low. The 4.1, however, was very good, and that was the direction that we needed to keep moving in. That downward trend was the direction that we really needed to keep moving in. But when we look below, and we look right here, this is the incidence number. We are now at 34.3 for 100,000 residents, but our percentage positivity has clicked up to 4.7, meaning that even though we had less people, we also tested less, thereby having a higher percentage of people actually have COVID out of those who were tested. This can be looked at for any community across the state. So you can click when you go in here, and you can click in any community and any county that you would like to see. There are other pieces. Here are definitions so that you understand, and we can look at Lycoming County again in here. And when you look here, you can see newly reported confirmed cases, and you can see where that trend is going to lead us. And then they also have a third page about the actual specifics of the testing, the incident rates, and how things are actually averaged, so you can understand and gain a greater sense of knowledge. So we won't spend time on those pieces, but we will go back to the piece that is just Lycoming County right now. If we look at this, while this number, 39.2, went down to 34.3, we're moving in the wrong direction in percent positivity. We were at 4.1. It moved up last week to 4.7. So we're moving in a direction that none of us want, because if we cannot get those numbers down, then we're not going to be able to go to 5-day-a-week instruction for a period of time. So as I said in my letter, it really is on all of us to be able to understand these metrics, how the science is being put together, and making sure that we're doing everything that we can to keep people safe. There is no decision, I think, that is going to make everyone 100% pleased. We will do our very best to hear everyone's opinions, but we will always go back to the science that's involved, and we will make our decisions based on the science that is involved. So I wanted to share that because as of yesterday, what we had chosen as a hybrid actually is being supported by the Department of Health, the Department of Education, and the Governor's Office. Thanks for allowing me that time.
Thank you, Christina.
Mr. Schimmel,
Yes, sir.
I would just like to add some numbers that I found out yesterday. I was in a meeting last night, and in that meeting, a legislator shared that a top official for UPMC stated that out of all of Pennsylvania, UPMC hospitals in Pennsylvania, at this time, there are 4 cases of COVID-19, and there are no COVID-19 patients on ventilators. I just wanted to share that information with everybody.
Thank you. That's good to know. When you talk ventilators, you know there's serious problems. So thank you for that information. With that, let's move along the agenda items. Of course, no student representative presentation. So let's move on to reading in the minutes. And we had a July 14th regular meeting in our minutes. Also the July 15th elementary project options presentation. And again on July 22, the elementary project options presentation. So we have those 3 sets of minutes, and I'd entertain a motion if you had time to read them and ready for a motion to approve them. I'd accept that.
Motion.
Scott, I make a motion to approve.
All right, Scott Conkle makes a motion. Do a second.
Second.
All right. I heard Ron, so Ron, you can have the second on that. Sorry, Dottie. With any discussion or questions or anything? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Aye. None? Okay. All right, minutes approved. Item 3 on the agenda is for a prior presentation, and I don't believe we have any prior presentations scheduled. Is that right, Superintendent?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, at this time, we'll move to the public comment section on agenda items, anything that's on the agenda or that has been presented so far. And we have a process that our technology fella, our technology wizard, we'll call him because we feel he is a wizard with technology. Sebastian Pfeiffer will guide the public through the how you can comment during the public session. So Sebastian, take it over and explain how it works.
Sure. And before I get into the details, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were going to do a comment at this time and more of the Q&A at the next session during this meeting.
Yeah, we'll reserve this portion for public comment, and then at the final closing public comment section, if the public would like to ask questions, we will entertain that as best we can. We found that worked well for the elementary options, and so we think that works well. So if you'd make your comments for this first section, and then at the end, towards the end of the meeting, then we can engage in a question and answer session if you'd like.
Okay, so for anyone in the public, if you would like to comment at this time, there is an icon on your screen that looks like a hand. If you go ahead and click on that, we'll be able to tell that you're raising your hand, at which time we will go down through the list in alphabetical order and allow you to speak one at a time. We will provide you 3 minutes to do so, and we just ask that you please state your full name and your address before commenting. So at this time, I'm going to begin. I see that we have one hand being raised.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
We can.
My name's Fawn Carr, 2164 Wallace Run Road in Montoursville. My question would be about the LICO VOTEC students, LICO CTC. How will that be working? Could you hear my question?
Yeah, Christine, why don't we go ahead and that's a pretty important question. If you could go ahead and answer that now.
Actually, I'm going to defer that to the high school principal who is working those details out with the representatives from LICO CTC.
Okay, so that's a work in progress.
Okay. Is it, okay.
Sorry, we couldn't give you something more definitive.
I can't, our intention would be,
I'm
Good,
sorry.
Dan. Good, Dan.
yeah, this is Dan Farmino, high school principal. Our intention would be if LICO is in session for 5 days, that our LICO CTC kids would be there as well. We're working out the details on how that will occur, but it is our expectation they will be in session with the rest of LICO CTC. That's all I can say now about that.
Okay.
And as the LICO CTC representative, I can tell you that the mindset for the folks there is that the students they're training are going to be going out to industry. And right now, virtually all of industry is having to work in masks full time. And so as students, they're basically training them the same way. They have to be in masks full time during their coursework and when they're in the building. So their intent is to have 5 day a week training at the CTC. And of course, there's 3 weeks left before school starts. So who knows what could happen, but that's the intent of the CTC at this point.
Will they still be busing them from the high school?
Again, it's the details that need to be worked out.
All right,
I don't
thank
have an
you.
answer to that. I'm sorry. It will come out before school starts.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm seeing another hand.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hi. So my name is Caitlin Sheck. My address is 122 North Montour Street. I don't really have a question. I would just like to tell you guys all that I'm very thankful for the choices that you guys made and all the points that you guys have made. I understand that all of you underneath like a lot of pressure and everything, and I just wanted to let you guys know that you're greatly appreciated.
Thank you for that, Caitlin.
Yep.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Okay, next. Are you there?
I think Mrs. Carr, did you know you raised your hand?
No, I did not. I am sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Okay, here's another one.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Coral Bloom. My sons are Evan and Ethan Bloom, and I'm a little late coming into the meeting. Very sorry. I had another meeting to attend. What was did we talk about the 5 days of school, or are you guys still going with a hybrid schedule?
Yeah, the superintendent had a very, very good presentation, and this actually will be recorded. So tomorrow sometime you could listen to her full presentation. It was very informative, and you can see how the district has arrived where we are. So it's lengthy enough that we don't have time to go over it again. But at this point, yes, we're at a hybrid, and circumstances can change, but we're in a hybrid program at this point in time. So tomorrow, maybe tomorrow evening, check out that presentation. It's the very first part of the board meeting, and you can hear her presentation.
Okay, and I will definitely go ahead and watch the presentation. But my biggest concern is it's hard for my children, and I'm sure other children that are out here listening or whatnot, about them learning online. It's very hard for them to learn on a computer. I know many people around me have signed their children up for cyber school just because of the fact they want their children to go for 5 days a week. And they don't care about the masks. They understand the social distancing, but it's just, I know I'm a person, I like to learn face to face, hand to hand. In a sense, I need a teacher. You know, I remember back in my day, I needed a teacher to push me and make me do good. And exactly, that's how my boys learn, is by seeing. They're kinetic learners. They got to do it that way. It's hard, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a nurse. I am not a teacher. I get frustrated with them quick. They get frustrated with me when I'm trying to teach them new things. So I will watch the presentation, but I highly recommend going back 5 days. But I'll do whatever you guys tell me to do, obviously. But I just wanted to know where we were on that.
Mrs. Bloom, thank you very much for your comments. I think that what you're saying is a great deal of what parents are feeling as well. And what I can share is it will be a hybrid, and the brief summary of why it's a hybrid is because the Department of Health, the Department of Education, and the Governor's Office have deemed our area to be moderate risk, and therefore we should be either in a hybrid or we should be fully remote. And I do have to agree with you, neither of these options are what we want. We want all of our students back in our classrooms as soon as possible. So I am asking that the public please do what we need to do so that we can get these kids back in school. The sooner that we do that, the sooner they come back, and they are here for 5 days. We will be evaluating this on a week-by-week basis based on the new metrics that the state has provided, and we will follow their guidelines as provided. And hopefully we can do these things rather quickly. We are not Philadelphia. We are not Reading. We are very, very fortunate with where we are and what we are doing. And we need to do just that little bit more so that we can get our kids back in school. If you ask any one of us, we never thought that we were taking it for granted that our students would be with us. And really, I guess we were. For all of these years, we just took it for granted that they were going to be with us for 5 days a week. And here we are. So I understand and appreciate what you are sharing. I think exactly so many parents are feeling the same way that you are. So thank you for saying what you have shared with us. We appreciate it.
Sure. I just, like I said, I just wanted to, overall, I'm more concerned just about our children's education. Because if we don't have children that graduate or don't get the concept and we don't provide the public with smart children, our country's gonna fall anyway over that. So I guess how I'm saying it in a long way is education is the most thing. You can always take away my house, my car, my food, but you can't take my education. Therefore, I will always be fed. I will always have a car, and I always have a roof over my head, if that makes any sense. And I believe Ben Franklin was close to saying something like that, and it's very true. So I just want the best opportunities for every child in our district, every child, period. And that's all. I just want to make sure they're going to get an education that publicly we're all paying for in taxes as well. So that's all. And like I said, I mean, just wanted to kind of put that out there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm seeing another hand, so at this time I'm going to allow John to speak.
John Klotz, 1860 Lick Run Road. Again, thank you everybody for the hard work and continued flexibility through this situation. I'm concerned that we seem to have adopted recommendations from the Department of Health, Department of Education, and Governor's Office that while they have clear metrics associated with them, they are not mandates, they're not orders, they're not directives, they're simply recommendations. And over the course of the last 5 months, we've seen a very clear trend for recommendations to change very quickly and seemingly on a whim without notice to the people receiving the recommendations. So I guess I would encourage the board to perhaps put some parameters on how we decide to adopt recommendations that aren't being mandated out of one of the state departments, that are simply recommendations, and encourage the board to function autonomously as much as possible within that framework. And I think that to some degree will take some pressure off of our administrators, knowing that they don't have to make those decisions on their own. But I do strongly believe that board decisions should be made related to this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Okay, at this time I'm going to allow Pamela to speak.
Pamela Nelson, 225 Bennett Street. I guess just to piggyback on what the last speaker said, my concern by going away from CDC or PDE guidelines, etc., would be putting yourself in a liability situation if you're not following the guidelines that are being presented by the health experts and whatnot. If there would be a problem. And we all know that sending our kids to school regardless is never a guarantee, but trying to follow the best guidelines and best practices that are being recommended by the experts, I think puts ourselves in a less litigious situation if there would be a problem. And, and I feel like people are going to complain if you don't send the kids to school, but as soon as the kids go to school and there's an outbreak, people will complain too. So you're not going to win regardless. That's it.
Thank you, Pamela. I appreciate that. It is very true. The CDC guidelines are being used. They are being used by the Department of Health. And actually, the Department of Health has gone that one step farther to mandate the social distancing of 6 feet. I know that people point to different organizations and how they use the social distancing factors for the aerosol that's in the air. But the Department of Health has made that mask order inclusive with the social distancing of 6 feet. So they really did take it one step farther than anything that the CDC or WHO designated. And since that is the mask order, that is what we are attempting to do for our students and make sure that we are keeping everyone at the lowest possible risk. Just like you said, for litigious reasons, we want to make sure that everyone is safe so that we can all be educated. But thank you so much. I appreciate the comment.
Okay, Sebastian, at this time, I don't see any more hands up, so go ahead and we'll close the public comment session for now, and at the end of the meeting, then we'll open it back up. Yeah.
Mr. Schimmel,
Yes, Ron.
I would like to speak as a community member, not as a board member, but as a community member in public comment at this time.
Okay, sure.
Ron Snell, Barbers, Pennsylvania. I have talked with numerous school officials, numerous health officials, government officials, parents, teachers. I've looked at the numbers. I've not only talked to, but I've seen comments and emails that support both sides of the way that we are proceeding to start school. I've also just recently seen the report from the Safe to Say, where since March, child suicide rates have gone up because of numerous factors. I also think that there's a lot of students out there that do need the face-to-face instruction that have problems staying focused on using a computer. I also feel that there's a lot of parents out there that don't have the time to put in to make sure that the student is sitting at the computer and doing the work, not only to make sure it's done, but make sure it's done to the best of their ability. Nothing can replace being in the classroom with the teachers. I think we as a district can do like other districts in the area are doing and make the students stay in the classroom as safe as possible. I'm against the hybrid model for that reason. And I think that our students do deserve the best education that we can give them. And that education comes from being in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. And we now have some more hands raised, so let's continue with public comment session.
Okay, starting at the top.
Hi, my name's Danielle Lanzer. We live on 412 Willow Street here in Montoursville. My husband and I are both teachers, so we're very familiar with all that's happening right now in the inner workings and the logistics of figuring everything out in this crazy time. And we're tasked with trying to figure out how our own family is going to function with the hybrid model or total remote learning, as Ben works in one district and I work in another. His district is doing hybrid as well. Mine just got notification that we're going all remote due to increased cases. My question is, and I know other districts are doing this as well, is there any choice if one of us would be able to stay home due to our working circumstances? Can we opt for our child to do all remote learning if we are at home as well? And then would they be able to like re-enter if we went back to work fully?
And this is Lanzer. Yes, you could opt to do the Warrior online learning remotely. And then if you wish, you can stop when school returns to the 5 days. The only piece that I can share, though, as the caveat to all of this is something I'm sure you already are recognizing too, is if we have a case of COVID in the district and things do need to be shut down, we could be going back and forth a few times during this year. Hopefully not, but that is a possibility. So I'm not quite sure what you would want to do in that scenario. I think you're probably familiar, but for those who are not familiar, and this is to help parents under the Families First Act, which is a federal program under it's a new FMLA for COVID. If you are a parent who has a school like ours going into a hybrid situation and your employer qualifies, and it's not a huge set of qualifications for your employer, but they have to have a certain number of employees. And if they do, you are allowed to be home with your children for a 12-week period and receive 2/3 of your income under this program. So for any of you who did not know about that, please look it up. It is called the Families First Act. This is Lanza. I didn't mean to take your time. Please, if you need to share anything else, go ahead.
No, absolutely. Thank you for your response. It was good to know that that's offered as well, as we still don't know what our plan is. So it's good to know that we have that option. And like you said, as the year goes on, I'm reading articles about not only the coronavirus continuing and possibly getting worse, but that the convergence of the flu with the coronavirus it's gonna probably elevate the possibility of future closures. So thank you, and we will be considering those options.
Thank you, and you just brought up something too that reminds me, if we lose teachers, we are definitely going to be having to reconsider our model of delivery as well. And that would be critical, just like in your two districts, it would be critical for us as well. So yes, so we're watching that very closely. Thank you again.
Yep, thanks for your communication over this time.
Well, we'll continue with public comment, and as, of course, good intentions to have just a comment session and finish up at the end with a question and answer. But the questions are very pertinent, they're very real, they're really timely. So if there are those kind of questions, I think it's just the best thing. We'll entertain those questions now. It's a good thing. So continue on, Sebastian.
Okay, next on the list, allowing them to talk at this time.
Hi, it's Fawn Carr, Wallace Run Road. I just wanted to thank Mr. Snell for bringing that up. I was fortunate enough to post on the site today from Sarah Shipman, who lost her son Jacob to suicide at the age of 12. And that's a real thing right now with everything that's going on. I think that I know COVID's real and I know it's a serious thing, but you also need to be thinking about the students' mental health. I don't agree with the hybrid, but it is what it is and we're going to go forward. But that's just another topic I think y'all need to consider too.
Mrs. Carr, yes, I agree with you, which is the reason that 2 years ago we became a trauma-informed school district, meaning that we work through positive responses and we work on a personalized level with students. We were one of the first in our community, and community meaning the overall county, to become trauma-informed and to use those practices with our students on a daily basis. We have now expanded that into the PBIS systems, which are the positive behavior systems that exist in our elementary schools and our middle school. So those are pieces that we are very excited to get back to ensure the mental health of our students, because it is not just education. You're right, it is social, emotional learning as well. So thank you for bringing that up.
But can you do that in the 2 days that you're allotted with these children? Can you, you're only 2 days.
You can do that in 2 minutes. So you can start building those relationships and work through positive relationships and help the students understand that when they are doing things well and they are excited about where they're at in school, we reinforce positive behaviors. We are not reinforcing the negative behaviors. We are using more of the instructional models that emulate those positive things that we find in our space. And it comes back down to making sure that we provide the education on how to treat one another, that we recognize that bullying does exist, and how you would want others to treat you is how you should be treating them. We go through, there are many, many different critical steps in the training process alone for our students. And that way they understand, they develop the trust, and when they need a moment of grace, as I put into my email, we know how, our teachers know how, because they have been trained to know how and to look for those signs and to be a part of the question and answer to make sure the student is doing very well. So it can happen in as little as 2 minutes, and it can be just as simple as mentoring processes for every student, which is something that we do in Montoursville.
I'm glad, because I think a lot of these kids are already a little down from the last 5 months, what they're hearing on TV, what is happening in the world. They're confused. They've been locked up for 3 months before this. And I didn't think it's more than the normal down, depressed. So thank you for that. Thanks.
I couldn't agree with you more. I do think it's not just children. I think it's adults.
Amen.
I think that many, right now, we feel so out of control that things are happening and we have no control over them. And it's things that people can explain to you, but like I've explained just a few brief things this evening on metrics. I'm not a statistician. I'm not a doctor. I only know what I know. And it is frustrating when those things are happening around us and we don't seem to be able to grasp anything. So it is everyone. It's absolutely everyone. But I've said it many times, and I think it's worth repeating, that it is no mistake that we were born when we were born. We were put here for a reason, and the reason is to go through this time together. And I think that we all have leadership capabilities, and we all have the ability of showing students that they are valued and that we love them and that we continue to do the very best for them. So we need to keep that in mind, and we need to help one another through it and just be respectful of what everyone is going through, because we're all going through it together.
Thanks.
Okay, next on the list I have Tony Hill. Tony, I've allowed you to speak at this time. Just so you know, you'll also have to unmute yourself.
There. Hi, I'm Tony Hill, a little bit 328 Chestnut Street. So kind of going along with that last comment, we've just opened up a tutoring center on Broad Street, and we'd be interested in helping to provide some sort of free assistance with some of the students who may require it. Obviously, with what's going on, they'd probably be requiring some additional help. So I just wanted to kind of put it out there that we would like to coordinate with the district and offer some pro bono work as well as our typical services.
Tony, we don't endorse any one particular product of any persons, unfortunately. You certainly can put that out within our community, and I am sure that there would be many people who would be responsive to that, but unfortunately it cannot be endorsed by the district.
Okay, volunteer stuff, would that be not subject to that rule?
No, it would still be subject to that rule.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, moving down the list.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
So I'm Wendy Baker, 25 Caleb Creek Road, Cogan Station. I just wanted to see if, and let me just say, you all got a copy. I emailed all of you with my concerns, which I am not going to read down that whole list of concerns with the hybrid model. I don't feel like there's any right model at this point because, you know, as a school psychologist, I'm employed by another district, and we are struggling with a in-person model. There are many, many challenges with that. So, but I do want to touch on the remote days, and I was wondering if someone could provide some more detail about what those remote days look like. I am concerned only having 2 full instructional days. I'm assuming that there's not going to be any direct teacher instruction during those remote days. Are students downloading content? Are there teacher videos at all? If you could elaborate a little bit on kind of what you feel that's going to look like, because I'm also concerned with my son's academic engagement in those activities over those 3 days. So if you could just elaborate on that if possible.
Absolutely, Mrs. Baker. I may need some help from my administrative team for that because at each of the levels it will be different. For example, kindergarten through grade 6 will receive instruction during their class time. So during their 2 days, they will be receiving instruction. All materials for them will go home on their Chromebook, and they will be expected to perform so many hours a day on that Chromebook on those activities, which can be charted through a Google Monitor for us that we can then download and see how much time the students spent with their time on task. We will also then be able to see how they are progressing with their materials, and the Wednesday timeframe for teachers will be used to be reaching out to the students and to be working with them if they need that personalized and differentiated instruction. They will be receiving it at that time. We'll be using the flipped classroom model from grades 7 through 12, and that model would be that assessments, project-based learning, labs, and all other types of hands-on engagement will be happening while you are in your classroom. And the instruction will be through video presentation with the teacher. So when you come into your classroom as an upperclassman, I'll say from 7th through 12th grade, you will be working with your teacher, and then you will be doing the actual hands-on kinetic learning that we spoke of earlier with the students. They too, oops, I'm sorry. I forgot to hit your timer, sorry, and I'm taking up your time, I'm sorry. They too will have a recommended number of hours a day. So let me say, all materials will be downloaded for this period of time using the Chromebook. However, attendance, and that was one of your questions, was the attendance component of this. Attendance will be a measure of assignments completed and hours within the Chromebook time. They will have to complete those hours, and there again is a method of calculating whether or not the student was engaged and online with their classwork. It will also help us register how to differentiate when the student does return to the classroom. So we're using those methods. We're also researching other school districts who have done this already. For example, Central Columbia has done this for a number of years where they have been all online. So for them, probably the remote learning concept, if they had to go in that direction, wouldn't be as difficult. We're using many different types of factors to ensure that students are making progress and that they are definitely working. And we are going to probably modify as we go along, because again, this process is new to us as it is most every other district in the area. So that's what I can share right now. If anyone on the administrative team as a principal would like to also clarify anything that I might have missed, that would be awesome.
And this is based, and I'll just add for the elementary that it won't be 100% technology based. You know, a lot of our curriculum has accompanying consumables, and we know how important it is for developing writers and readers and math students to work with paper, pencil. So there'll be a combination of technology based as well as traditional, you know, consumable and writing activities on paper.
And to piggyback on what Mr. Farrar was saying too, I know so many had questions about library books and being able to get to the library and get their books. They will be able to go ahead and check out books as they normally would. However, when the books are returned, they will be quarantined for a period of 72 hours at minimum, and then they would be cleaned and returned to the shelves. So we really are very cognizant too that we want books and actual materials and resources in students' hands, especially at the younger grades. We know they're digital natives already, and many of us are not, but we feel that it's important to keep the books in their hands. That tactile, hand-to-eye, it is just that type of learning that we need our students to be engaged in. So we're always going to have that as part of our components, even past the pandemic. I could see us ensuring that we always have those types of resources as well.
Thank you very much for answering those questions, because that was one of my biggest concerns, was the academic material, how that was going to be delivered, kind of more details about that, as well as, and I think you answered one of my other questions, it was the communication piece, being able to communicate with teachers during those remote days if needed.
Yes, I think the general outline of the remote Wednesday, where the teachers will have the option, and again, this is based on family need. If they are in their classroom on Wednesdays or if they are at home, there is an expectation that they will be providing office hours and that they will be communicating with students as well as working through creating the next set of lessons, creating the next set of assessments. Many of those things are not going to change. Obviously, our standards, according to the Pennsylvania standards themselves, are not changing. It's how do we then deliver and get the results across to our students. Just that engagement piece is what you're talking about as a school psychologist and as a parent. And I think there's going to be bumps in the road. I'm not going to say that this is going to be perfect by any means, but it is not going to be what we did in the spring. I want to make that very, very clear. What we did in the spring was engagement and review. It was not planned instruction. Our staff has spent 63 hours planning now on how to be delivering this type of electronic content when we need to do these remote days. They have pivoted, as I'm sure you know, being in education, you have watched teachers pivot, and now they're being told that they must pivot numerous times throughout the year. So they have prepared for this. We are so much more prepared for this. It will be full planned instruction, and there will be attendance requirements, all of those pieces will be here to engage every student that we have.
Thank you.
Okay, continuing down the list, Damon is up next.
Yes, Damon Dotato, 416 Willow Street. Just kind of curious to why there are some schools in the county going back 5 days and we are taking on this hybrid model. How they go off the same numbers we are. Can anybody maybe explain, have any knowledge of what's going on there?
Sure, Damon. Every district is different. Some are larger than others. Some have class sizes that are larger than others. Some have different offerings than others. Some may be using the WHO model. Some may be using the CDC models. However, all of those decisions were made prior to the latest recommendations coming out that I presented at the beginning of the meeting from the Department of Health, the Department of Education, and the Governor's Office. So all of those people have put forth what we now see as the recommended instructional delivery models. So I can't answer for other districts. I can only answer for ours. I can tell you that the hybrid model is our least favorite of the models, but it is the one that we know we can maintain the 6 feet of distance. It is the one that the mask order says that we are to be giving students mask breaks. We will be able to do that during the day for our students. I don't know many people who have expected a 5-year-old to sit in a class, not be near other children, maintain their distance, and sit with a mask or sit with a face shield on all day. So we're learning more as districts are going back to school that way. And I must say that every community is also different. There are communities who may not be prepared with a one-to-one option. There may be communities who have a lot more, which would be hard to believe because I think we have a lot of residents who do not have internet-based, which is why we're downloading all materials prior to students leaving so that we have eliminated that as an inequity for our students. So if you have questions about what other districts are doing, I think that it might be beneficial for you to ask them. Ask them exactly what they're doing and why their decision-making has led them in that direction. I don't think any of us are going to be perfect at this. And I think it would be very interesting to see what they share with you as their reasonings.
And to support that, I reached out yesterday after the email came out with the metrics and recommendations to one of my colleagues who's on Loyalsock School Board. And I said, can you just talk through with me how you came up with the 5-day-a-week decision? And he said, well, since this email came out this afternoon, we're going to meet on Wednesday and revisit the question of 5 days a week. So I would actually be surprised if, given the email that came out yesterday, some of these other districts who said they were doing 5 days a week maybe actually backtracking and going to hybrid after given that most recent recommendations from the state. And I know at least Loyalsock is going to reconsider that tomorrow night.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next up we have Denise Clark. Welcome, Denise.
Hi, this is Denise Clark, 101 North Loyalsock Avenue in Montoursville. As Mrs. Basin already noted, I am the coordinator of Warrior Online Learning, and I'm happy to speak with anyone about that program. But tonight, however, I wanted to just very quickly speak as a parent and a community member from Montoursville. Mr. Snell and Mrs. Carr and others have rightly brought up concerns about student mental health tonight. And I know that the costs, concerns that are associated with mental health treatment can be very daunting to families. And sometimes that cost can be enough of a barrier that families feel that they can't seek out the help that they are in need of. And I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention tonight that any Pennsylvania child with a mental health diagnosis is eligible for medical assistance as a secondary insurance regardless of income. So medical assistance will pick up where your insurance company is not able to pick up, you know, the rest of the costs associated. The process is very simple, and I'm just sharing this very quickly because I would hate to see any child in Pennsylvania or in our district at all not get the help they need because parents are worried about the costs associated. So I just wanted to bring that up, that is a possibility for Pennsylvania families.
Thank you, Mrs. Clark.
Okay, next up is Karen.
Hi, thank you. Karen Nyberg, 1878 Care Hill Road in Montoursville. Ms. Basin, you mentioned an email you sent a couple times. Somehow I did not receive that. Is there some place I can find that online that you have it posted?
Definitely. It is out online. I think, did we put it on Facebook? Hold on, let me just ask. I think it's been posted on Facebook. I don't believe that I posted it on Facebook, but I can certainly send it to you if you reach out to us. If you have not read or gotten that, are you currently a student's parent in the district?
Yeah, I'm a parent. I've gotten other emails from you. I don't know why I missed this one.
Okay, then definitely call into the office tomorrow and make sure that your email is up to date so that you actually can receive those and we have the proper email.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'll check Facebook as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, continuing down the list.
I didn't have any more questions. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay, our last one that I can see right now.
Hello, Danielle Lanzer here again. Another question that came up in my mind as we were talking is in concern to attendance and grades and things like that. With people with unconventional work schedules or unconventional like households, maybe they go from different household to household. What are the expectations for when work is completed? Is there like a time frame that children have to meet to get the work done, or would it be by a weekly basis? What would that look like? Because I know for us, we're both working parents. It's going to be very difficult. And then, you know, I know for even my own classroom last year, I had a lot of students who just could not, their parents had no time to do it due to work schedules or health reasons. They were with extended family. So I was just wondering what the expectations were for the workload that they would be doing at home.
Sure. The workload there would be expectations. Yes. If we want them to be able to meet the standards that Pennsylvania has required us to meet in each of the grade levels, they will need to meet the expectations. That may depend. There might be projects that are due on a weekly basis, longer term projects, research papers, types of things that you need to research on a longer frame of time. However, there will also be daily expectations. So when the student leaves the district, they will be engaged in understanding that there are X, Y, and Z that they need to complete, and that they need to have a certain number of hours online. Those numbers of hours would probably work best for you and your family to maybe sit down and chunk them out. Other families may wish to go ahead and say, okay, we're going to sit down and do all of this at one time. We're going to put your X number of hours in on this day, and then tomorrow we're going to do that again. But you're right, we do recognize that there are students who do have other types of situations, especially when we're talking about learning at home, that the parents need to be responsible in helping them, and sometimes you can't get to that responsibility because you have a work schedule or because it could be divorced parents and going back and forth. So yes, there will be expectations. It will be determined by the subject, the grade level, as to what those expectations are as a time frame, and you will have to be logging the number of hours in. So for example, you might have a fantastic student and say that we say you have to have this number of hours. If that student goes home and works all day for 2 days and has that done and they completed everything, obviously they're going to be showing progress, they're going to be showing their work, they're going to be sharing their work, and we'll be able to go in and see that they have the hours in the system that they've needed. It does not need to be pinpointed, okay, it has to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It just must be representative of the total that we ask for, and the projects need to be completed, or the videos have been watched. There have been other pieces of communication in there that we know that they've logged in to see that. So yes, there are expectations. That is going to be something that we have.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, at this point, I don't see any more hands up, and we'll have a session a little later on at the end of the meeting. So Sebastian, if you close the public comment session now, we'll move on with the agenda items. Right now we're ready for the business manager's report. So Brandy, you're on.
You've received copies of the treasurer's reports for the period ending July 31st, 2020 for the general fund and cafeteria fund. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion, questions? Okay, if not, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
You've received copies of the listing of invoices for the general fund and cafeteria fund for the period ending August 11th, 2020. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval and payment.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion or questions?
Excuse me, Brandy, was that on? I was looking at my paperwork. Was that on the presentation of the bills?
Yes.
Okay, I have a question. Check number 59333, which is for Select Security. And this is for thermal temperature scanners. Can somebody explain to me what kind of scanners they are? Because I've researched this online, and handheld thermal temperature scanners range, the ones I've seen, they range from 50 to 200 bucks. And here we have 4 that are 18,733. Now I realize this is not coming out of our budget. This is money that was allotted to us from the CARES Act. But if for us to spend that kind of money when that money could possibly have been used in a different area, that's where my question is. What kind of temperature scanners are they that they cost that much?
Ron, they are scanners that multiple students can pass in front of at one time. You cannot temperature scan every child as they're coming in, or you will be creating a backlog and you will be creating exactly what we're trying to avoid. We also don't have the staff to do a temperature scan on every child. So these temperature scanners are computers that as the children pass in front of them and as the adults, because the employees will also need to do this, as we all pass in front of them, if there is a temperature of 100.4 or greater, that will then signal a principal as well as the nurse. And then you will be called to go and have a temperature scan like you are speaking about, which is the thermal scanner. And then if you register, again, you will need to, as an adult, be asked to quarantine. As a student, you will be put in isolation, and then you will have your parents contacted to come and retrieve you. So they are multifunctional machines that can be moved around so that we can move them from different doorway to different doorway. They accommodate our youngest children to the adults, and we can fluctuate with those. Does any administrator care to share anything else that I might have forgotten?
Christina, these machines they're calibrated and designed for looking at the human body, correct? These are not industrial grade for measuring temperatures of electrical circuits. These are calibrated around the 98.6 plus or minus, aren't they?
They are.
Okay, I do have a couple more questions regarding this. Where did the 104 degree temperature as an alert come up?
The 100.4.
Is that a CDC guide?
It is.
Oh, 100.4. You said
not
100.4.
Yeah,
Because
100.
it sounded like you said, okay, because it sounded like you said 104.
That would be really, really hot.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't figure out why it was that high. And now I forget the other question. If there is a temperature, if it detects a temperature over 100.4, is there an alarm set off? And
no alarms, because we do not wish to violate anyone's HIPAA rights. But the alarm goes secretly, I shouldn't say secretly, it goes to the nurse and to the principal to then contact that person to come to the nurse's office and be rechecked. And then at that point in time, the nurse then decides, all of the symptoms, they'll verify all of that, and they'll start sending people home. They're going to be the ones. We are not health professionals, but they are. So we're going to rely on them a great deal in determining who to quarantine when we get to that point. They will be fulfilling those needs greatly.
And I understand that, but you said that you don't have the staff to stand there. So how do you know which person had the 100.4 degree temperature?
That's a Dan question. I'm going to defer to him on that one specifically, because I don't know the specific. I know that it registers on a person itself, and I think it's a picture, but I don't want to say that incorrectly.
It's video. So
Dan,
it captures video.
Did you say it's video?
It captures video.
All right. That's all I have.
Okay, if there's no other discussion or questions, Brandy, would you call the roll on that?
Mr. Albert.
Yes.
Dr. Berry.
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel.
Yes.
Mrs. Marriott.
Yes.
Dr. Mathers.
Yes.
Mr. Ruffing.
Yes.
Mr. Schimmel.
Yes.
Mr. Snell.
Yes.
Mr. Ulmer.
Mr. Ulmer, yes.
Any additional business report for us, Brandy?
I have nothing this evening.
Okay,
Brandy, I do have one question that has to do with the business manager. in the condensed board summary report for the general fund on page 2, it shows board services year-to-date used 43.87% from from July 1st to July 31st. We've used 43.87% of the budgeted amount. Could you give me an explanation on that, please? Do you see where I'm talking about?
PSBA is part of that. Your insurance is part of that.
Is there some CRA in that, Brandy?
There's CRA in that. There's advertisement in that.
Are we worried that since we're close to 50%, I mean, we're approaching 50% used in 1 month, are we worried about going way over budgeted amount? I mean, we have 11 months more to go before this budget season is over.
Brandy, aren't those things a year-to-date item that you pay once at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I'm just going through all of them to verify before commenting.
Brandy, don't mean to put you on the spot. It'd be good to, why don't you get back to the board on that, just to let us know how it looks if we're need to make adjustments or just, obviously we have to watch what we're doing. So don't want to hold up the public, but please do report back to us on that, on where they came from and what we can do to maybe slow it down. Let's do move forward. Or by the end of the meeting, if you have an answer for Ron, go ahead and we'll take care of it later on in the meeting. So with that,
I'm taking notes, so I'm not going to be able to look and take notes. So
okay,
yeah,
but the majority of it is your PSBA.
Okay, I'm just concerned that we have that high of a percentage 1 month in. That's why I brought the concern up.
I'm not overly concerned with that at this point.
Thank you. Christina, we have, now we're at the superintendent's report. Do you have anything additional for the board, for the public?
I do not this evening, President Schimmel.
Okay, then let's move on to the agenda items. And if you'd like to present those to us, Christina?
May I please have consent to do G1 and G2 together?
Yes.
Thank you. May I please have a motion on G1 and G2?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Or excuse discussion or questions? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
May I please have a consent motion for G3 through G5?
Motion
to approve.
Second.
Discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
G6, approval of substitutes for the following lists for the 2020-21 school year.
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
D7, approval of changes to the 2021 school calendar for the second and final reading.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second? We have a second. Discussion or questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that well, not only under the impression, we were told that the hybrid model would be looked at on a month-to-month basis, and now here we have a school calendar that takes us into December with the hybrid model, which means, and to me, it means that we're not looking at it on a month-to-month basis.
We're looking at it weekly. Well, but the superintendent presented that. We'll be looking at this, the numbers every 7 days, every 7 to 14 days. A decision could be made on it, and if a decision is made, we will approve a new schedule, a new calendar. It's just.
And Ron, I think the crux of what you're seeing through December is to allow parents to understand what the days would be that their children would be going if we actually ended up going longer, because we can't approve a new calendar every month, it seems. That would be very confusing for them. We really wanted them to be able to see on a long-term basis that, okay, if for half of the year, if this happened, here is the blue and here is the gold number of days. We were trying to ensure that they were equal. And that's why we moved some of the in-service to a Wednesday, and we did some other shuffling around in November so that we weren't coming back and redoing this and rehashing this and then sending another calendar out to the parents to be confusing. We really wanted them to be able to say, okay, if my child is blue, here are the days that they go. If my child is gold, here are the days that they go. It just seemed to make sense to do it that way on a longer presentation that way.
If that's the case, then I think it should be noted on here that September through well, not September, but October through December is subject to change, that it will be evaluated weekly, monthly, whatever, and it is subject to change. I think it should be added as a sidebar on this school calendar.
And it does say that specifically in the health plan that we would review it on a monthly basis, because it seems as though, of course, we did the health plan prior to yesterday and we were evaluating on a monthly basis, but it does seem that you could evaluate basically on a 2-week basis with the materials that you see. If you're headed into a low category, if you have those 2 weeks and you hit that low, then it would end up being, I think it would almost end up being that 3rd week that you could go back in full. So yes, it is part of the health plan. If it would help others understand that this is on a month-to-month basis, I have no problem adding that to the calendar.
That would need to be with board approval, correct?
No, it could be just what we have on the opposite side where it says January to June will be reevaluated. We could just simply say right there, instead of January to June will be reevaluated. We put that there because we wanted parents to understand that if we put something else out, we will go ahead and do the blue and gold on that side if it were to continue. But we can go ahead and put a statement right under there that says it will be evaluated on a month-to-month basis. That's not a problem to do.
Thank you. I'd prefer that.
If that's the will of the board, I have no problem. Go ahead, Dottie, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I have a question. In December, and I've emailed this to you, Christina, that the blue group is short a day. They have one less day than the gold group. And the red on the 23rd doesn't say which students would be going. Can we give that day? I just want to make sure the groups are equal. And, you know, if you look into the spring, there's a lot of Mondays. So I'm not sure we can equal it out. So how do we have to meet the hours? Are we?
They will definitely, they will be well over their hours. I think when we calculated our calendar, we had 1,140 hours within our calendar. However, I see what you're saying, Dottie, about the 23rd. I think we just need to color that differently. I think that we have to be cognizant that that would have been probably the day of the gold, or I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't have my notes in front of me and I don't know, but we do need to color that either a gold or a blue day.
Right. It would be, if Tuesday's a gold day, then Wednesday would be a blue day because Wednesday is missing one day that month. Gold has 7 days and blue has 6.
So team, can anybody help me remember this one?
December 23rd is a 3-hour dismissal.
But I think because it's a Wednesday, I think it was a 3-hour early dismissal for the staff.
Ms. Mason.
Brandy, go ahead.
I think in part of our conversation originally, we had talked about November 30th is a paid employee holiday. So I think we had originally talked about making the 1st and the 2nd blue days in December, but I don't know if we talked out of that or not. I just remember some conversation, if you maybe have some notes on that, or if someone else on the admin team can discuss that part of it.
Yes, we landed on in our discussion that if there was a Monday off, we would do the Tuesday, Wednesday blue, Thursday, Friday gold.
So you're saying the 2nd would be blue then, December 2nd?
That's what I recall discussing.
And then what do you do on the 23rd? Is that just a teacher day? Because the red doesn't, I know it says 3-hour early dismissal.
Like all the other Wednesdays.
Be like the other Wednesday, so it's like a teacher work day, remote.
That was my recollection. We were going to do make sure we had a blue day and a gold day before we went into break if we're still in hybrid at that time.
So we'll approve this calendar with making December 2nd a blue day.
Dottie, did we count from September? When you counted your number, you were counting from September?
Right, all the other months are equal.
Okay, great. So then we would need to make December the 2nd a blue day.
And the 23rd not a day.
I'm sorry, Jan, could you repeat that?
And the 23rd is not, it's a remote day.
Yes.
Actually, October doesn't have equal days. The gold days have 10 and the blue days have 8.
Well, you look up to September, up the last week of September, and that makes that equal.
Oh, okay. Yes, Dottie, you're right.
So we will present the calendar with a modification of December the 2nd will be a blue day if we still would be in a hybrid scenario. And the 23rd would be a remote day on a half-day basis for the staff.
That works.
Thanks for bringing that up, Dottie.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no more discussion or questions on that, I think, yeah, we had our first in their motion. Yeah, okay, so let's all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
May I please have a consent motion for G8 and G9?
We have a motion.
Move to approve.
There's a second.
Second.
Questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
G10, approval for the COVID-19 MOU between the Montoursville Area School District and the Montoursville Area Education Support Professionals.
Move to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
Questions, discussion?
My only question is the MOU doesn't have a date on it.
Is it waiting for today's date, Ron?
It's waiting for every date on it because all the dates are blank. It has August blank 2020. At least my copy does.
Okay, well, the memorandum of understanding is made this day of, this would be the 11th of August. By and between, the provisions of this MOU shall expire on August the 20th.
Okay, and when should the employee provide notice of intent?
August
To
the
retire.
20th, please. Yep, by August the 20th, the
both-
same day.
Okay, the same day.
Yep,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, with those clarifications, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
May I please have a consent motion for G11 and G12?
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have
Nay.
it. Ron, was that a no on that, Ron?
Yes, for G12, it's a nay.
We had them bundled. Do you want to separate them? We had 11 and 12 together, right?
You don't have to separate them. I agree with G11. I oppose G12 due to I don't agree with the blended reopening.
Okay, yes, understood. All right.
And just a
G13.
comment, I'm sorry, just
Oh, go
I
ahead, Dottie.
kind of in the discussion, but just a comment on G12 that the health plan will be revised with those metrics, correct, Christina?
Yes, we will definitely be updating it to provide that the Department of Health metrics will be used.
Okay.
G13, approval of a resolution to reaffirm the policies of the Montoursville Area School District on discrimination.
We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
Discussion, questions? All in favor, then hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Under Personnel, P1, approval of the additions to the professional staff for the 2020-2021 school year. Cody Pavlik for a science position. He will start at step 1 of the bachelor step at $46,680. He will be a replacement for Chris Reeder, who will be moving back to a different grade level.
Do we have a
Move to
motion? We have a motion. A second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion or questions?
What grade is he teaching?
If I may, Mr. Basin, Mr. Pavlik will be teaching both 7th and 8th grade. I see that Mr. Pavlik is online here this evening. I want to congratulate him. We look forward to working with you and all the awesome things you're going to provide us and our students this year. Congratulations.
Welcome, Cody. We are excited to have you. Thank you so much.
All in favor then, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
P2, approval of the addition to the support staff for the 2020-2021 school year. Lisa Brown as a part-time custodian at the rate of pay of $14.84. And this is a new position for us.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
Question, discussions?
Is this a budgeted position?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes.
Okay. There was a position that wasn't filled in a different department. So funds will be moved from another department into this department to support this position.
So the answer is yes, it is a budgeted position then.
It's just not budgeted in that department, correct?
Okay, thank you.
No more questions, and all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
P3, approval of the following additions to fill long-term positions. Michaela Mathis, special education. She is a replacement for Emily Haywood. And Tiffany Steppe in English, and she is replacing Alicia Beth.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Question or discussions? Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
P4, approval of the following transfer of a support staff member effective for the 2020-2021 school year. Wendy Durant. She will be moving as a paraprofessional at Leiter into a paraprofessional position at McCall for 5 hours a day as a budgeted position.
Do we have a motion?
Approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Ayes have it.
P5, approval of the following increase in hours for paraprofessionals effective only for the 2020-2021 school year, and they are as listed.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve.
Hang on, Mrs. Basin, this is Mr. Farrar. Mrs. Teffiteller, that would not just, that's filling that spot. That's not the one time. We can reevaluate it next year, but that's.
We will be reevaluating that for next year, yes.
Okay.
Okay. discussion or questions?
Yes, the same question. Were the increase in hours budgeted?
No, these increases are not budgeted.
Well, again, yes, Mrs. Tefateller's would be. Because she normally is a 5-hour person. She would be going to 5.5, which is replacing the position that Mrs. Durant held, but Mrs. Durant is now going to the middle school.
Hers would be, but the other two were
Correct.
additional hours. The one was so that we could move some hours over into the other departments by increasing a little bit. And the other one was to help us with some extra staffing issues that we need for the cafeteria due to the COVID. That's why these are all for just 1 year to help.
Thank you.
Hearing no additional questions or discussion, then all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
P6, approval of the following leave from a member of the professional staff from August the 24th, 2020 to September the 30th of 2020.
We have a
Move to
motion.
approve.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? Okay. Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Opposed? Okay. Ayes have it.
P7, approval of the resignation from a member of the professional staff, Mrs. Kristen Albaugh. She was an elementary teacher in 4th grade at the Valley. Her effective date will be August the 24th, 2020. Kristen is furthering her educational endeavors, and she is going to become an administrator. And she is an excellent teacher. We will very much miss her. The students will miss her. The staff will miss her. And we wish her nothing but the very best as she leaves Montoursville and ventures out.
Mr. Schimmel?
Yes, sir.
We didn't add that into the agenda, so we need to vote to add it into the agenda. And since it's something new, we also need to give the public a chance to comment on it if they want.
Very astute there, Mr. Snell. Okay, let's have a motion to add that agenda item, P7.
Motion.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
And do we have a second on that motion to add the agenda item?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, now that we've added the agenda item, how about a motion to approve it?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All right, now this is a discussion on the agenda item itself now that it's been added.
Hey, Dave, this is Scott. I just want to tell Kristen good luck on her venture, and I've seen her work in her classroom, and she's an awesome person. So,
good.
Yes, thank you, Kristen.
And Sebastian, is there any hands raised that want to comment on it from the public before we vote?
At this time, there are not, but just to remind everyone, if you would like to speak at this time about this agenda item, please click on the hand on your screen, at which time we will allow you to speak. I am seeing none.
And we'll have additional public comment at the end if anybody would like to give well wishes to Kristen too. Okay, with that then, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
May I please have a consent motion for PY 1 through PY 5?
Do a motion on that. I heard a motion. I heard a second. Okay. Discussion or questions?
On policy 237, there's a typo. The word "en ruse," I believe, should be "ensure."
Okay, we'll get that. En ruse? Okay.
En ruse. And to make sure that that wasn't the word that was supposed to be there, I tried finding the meaning for it, and I couldn't find any meaning.
It's not an abbreviation like LOL.
Okay, you distracted me. Do we have them? Where are we?
We're ready to vote.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, ayes have it.
And
All right,
that concludes the item.
Thank you for bringing that to us, Superintendent. Okay, I guess we're on to other reports. So, Madam Vice President, would you like to take over and walk us through that?
Okay, glad to. First committee, PSBA, I do not have anything to report. Mr. Ruffing, Policy Committee? You're muted.
Whoops. Outside of the policies we approved tonight, I have nothing additional.
Okay. How about Mr. Ruffing, IU?
And I have nothing there to report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schimmel, LCTC, you talked about it earlier. Do you have more to report?
No, that was probably just a highlight on how they're going to be starting their school year. And we passed their health plan, and we meet next week.
Okay. Mr. Conkle, Memorial Gardens?
No report.
Mr. Ulmer, Budget?
Nothing to report.
That's good. We've been busy on everything else. Mr. Albert, Building and Grounds?
I have nothing.
Mr. Ulmer, Montoursville Foundation?
Nothing to report there either.
Okay, and last but not least, Mr. Conkle, Extracurricular?
Follow suit with Dale. No report.
Okay, back to you, President Schimmel.
Thank you, Dottie. All right, this time then we'll enter into a time of public comment on virtually really any matters. And as we did with our earlier public session, we'll make it a question and answer session. If there's questions regarding especially how we're going to be opening up the school year and things like that, we'll answer the best we can. So Sebastian, if you would open up the chat room, I guess, if you will.
Okay, and once again, in case anyone has joined us since our last public comment session, we will allow comment at this time. If you would like to speak, go ahead and click on the icon that looks like a hand on your screen, at which time we will be able to see that you're raising your hand. We will go down the list alphabetically and allow you to speak. We will allow you 3 minutes to do so, and we just ask that you please state your full name and your address. So I see some hands popping up now, and we will get started with Brenda.
Mute. Are you there now?
We can
you
hear
hear me? Okay, good. First of all, thank you for listening over the past few weeks, no matter how hard or easy that's been. Second of all, I would like to know when the board meetings will be in person again. Last time I suggested that we do a hybrid model. Imagine that. But I suggested that we do a hybrid model saying, okay, if we want to meet in person, we meet in person. And then if someone wants to be zoomed in, they can do that also. And I never heard a response about that or a follow-up. And now, here we are again. So I just wondered if that was going to be paid any consideration. Other suggestions that I've heard from other people is we could use the football field or we could use Indian Park, but seeing you guys and being able to relate to you and share our cares and concerns. It's just kind of like at such a time as this. I actually talked to Mrs. Berry today about how important it is for us to be able to know that we're heard, and that a lot of our anger, our anxiety and irritations sometimes come from not feeling that we are. And I was trying to have us be able to get in front of you in a better way than just the Zoom the last time, and kind of fend some of that off. But yeah, I just wanted to know what you guys thought about that. Since I haven't heard anything about it, where are you at with that? And where are you at with the other suggestions if going into the building isn't an option for you?
Hi, Brenda, it's Christina. I'll answer that for you.
Thank you.
You're right, we do have that 25-person limit on board meetings because they are not instructional time. So we are limited to that capacity. We are trying to purchase the equipment that we would need to allow the parents to Zoom in, or to allow those who might be in a different state or something, if they're on a vacation and they still wish to join us, to be able to Zoom in. There is specific equipment necessary that we do not yet have. And we are trying to not only find it, but fund it as well. So we are trying to do that. There are some difficulties in finding it right now, but Sebastian and Dan Taramina are working on that as we speak. So we hope to have that very soon. I'm not sure what the board would think about doing something out in the stadium or outside because of weather. I don't know. I don't think I can answer that one.
Mm-hmm. At the beginning of tonight's meeting, you were going over the numbers, and I thank you for that. And you talked about having leeway. You said, well, I could either, shut it down for 2 weeks, or I could shut it down for the marking period. I'm given, I think you said, I'm given a broad leeway with that. What would affect your, decision on the use of that leeway that you were talking about?
The first thing that I would share is I won't do anything in a vacuum. That is not the style of management that I use. I am very collaborative. We have a team of 15 of us that gather and try to make the best decisions possible, because as you can imagine, when you have 15 people in a room, we all come from different points. And I think that's why it's good for us to do that, because we can then assess each of those critical points of thought, and we hash them out so rationally. And I really enjoy doing that, because there are a lot of times where it's not the frame of mind that you thought you were going to go in with, but you come out with a completely different one. It will depend on the next set of regulations that are presented with the Department of Health. It will also depend on if it is one case of COVID within our district, if it is 2 cases of COVID within our district. It will have a lot of different variables to it, which is why we have asked for the Department of Health to be looking at the matrix that was used in other counties across the nation. So I don't know that I can answer that one yet. I'm hoping to be able to have that answer as we have more information on the metrics that are being used.
Okay. And I mean, as I've stated many times, we're just hoping that you err on the side of keeping the kids in school rather than using that leeway, and I think that that's what you're saying you'd like as well. My other question is, so if someone turns up with a fever at school and you said, well, we isolate them, and that not in a mean way, but yeah, you'll take them and then wait till their parents come, and you'll have them quarantine for 2 weeks. How do they get out of that? Like, what if they don't have COVID? Do they have to go and get tested once they have a fever? Or, are you going to mandate a test, or are they able to just stay out of school for 2 weeks? Like, what's that gonna look like? Because, some people might say, I don't want my kids to have a test, we'll just quarantine. Some people might say, my kid didn't have it, and can they come back? How does that work?
Right now, I believe in our health plan, we did state that the nurse would have the authority, because they are a medical professional, to determine whether a test would be needed or a quarantine would be needed. And the quarantine would be what that person can recommend to us. I cannot force, I don't believe that we have any power to say to a parent, you must go get tested. However, the enforcement of before you can come back, you must be medically evaluated and given the all clear. So I believe that that does give some latitude to parents. Again, I hate to say this, but the Department of Health may tell us, no, you need to do something like that. Today's discussion, actually, when we were working with the pandemic group, was about actual testing materials. We do not have actual testing materials, but some districts want actual testing materials, and they want to be able to provide them. Again, we're not medical professionals. I spoke to a few people. I spoke to a couple different doctors today, and then I spoke to an attorney, and they're also recommending that we do not become a medical institution in handing out tests for that purpose. So I think because it hasn't hit our area yet, I think our Department of Health is really waiting to see how this all works in other areas, in schools specifically. They know what to do, obviously, themselves, but I think in schools it's probably a little bit different. But we're asking that the parents definitely go through the symptom checker. We will have a link for that. And if you do not have the ability of putting that in on your phone prior to the child getting to school, you can send a sheet of paper with them that we will provide to you, and they will drop that off in the nurse's office, because we do have to do some kind of contact tracing, but it's really up to the parent, first of all, to be the verifier of the child's health. If they don't feel well, they need to stay home. Then if they do come into school and they have that double check on the temperature, then we would isolate them and we would have their parents come and get them. And if the nurse is recommending a quarantine, then they would be quarantined and they would have to return with a medical evaluation giving the all clear. During that time, they would not be put into Warrior Online Remote. They would be given their work remotely and with any books and resources that they have within their classes. They would be sent home with all of those materials, just like they would if they were sick otherwise, or if they were on a family excursion. It would work the same way when they're out like that.
Okay. When you talk about, like, you know, authority and things like that, I'm just hoping that, you know, the message will be sent to, like, and from the teachers and from the nurse, that our kids are our kids. And I know that, you know, we get caught up in the numbers and things like that, but we're sending them into a really, you know, for us, it's a hard environment. And I don't know if you guys have any kids still in the district or not, but that's where we're coming from. And these are our kids, and we don't want them to be treated like, you know, possible plagues or anything like that. And I'm hoping that they err on the side of remembering that, you know, they're our kids, and we don't want them to be treated like, you know, every one of them possibly has COVID every day.
Oh, absolutely. And I could definitely say that I know your nursing staff very well. They are the utmost professionals. We will not violate anyone's HIPAA, which is why when Mr. Snell asked about the temperature scanning devices and things, those are private files that are going to that person to be evaluated and to then protect everyone. But you're right, we are also bound by HIPAA, that we will not be able to release student names who has COVID or anything else like that. So I can assure you that our staff is very professional in that manner, and we want those same things too, Brenda. I think you know that. I think you know that.
Yeah, it's just sometimes we need to say it and remind you guys. Thank you, and that's all I have. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Christina, I have a question for you regarding the information you just gave out. You said about keeping an eye on the numbers in our district. the last I've seen, or the most I've seen, the most breakdown has been by, or the smallest breakdown has been by zip code. In our district, how would you keep track of cases in our district when our zip codes go into other school districts?
From what I understand, Ron, if we have a case within our school and that person is tested, the Pennsylvania Department of Health will allow us to know that we have a case of COVID within our school. And they will ask for our help in contact tracing to verify where this person, and I won't say student or staff because it could be either, to know where this person was, how many others they were around, so that they can put it together and start contacting other people. So when I'm speaking about our district, I am specifically speaking about cases that are affecting those within the walls of our district.
But parents, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know the numbers of parents that possibly could have a positive case.
That's correct. Only if they share that with us will we have knowledge of that.
Right.
While we're waiting to see if we have any more hands go up and any questions to be asked, board members, any closing thoughts on this from any of you?
Well, I guess this came up in my conversation with Brenda, and then it kind of reminded me when you were talking about broadcasting meetings or Zooming people into meetings. Is there any way if a student were quarantined to have them like live stream the class lesson so that it's not all material sent home? Is there any way to broadcast or Zoom or Teams by like via a laptop class?
No, not at this point. There is not. We've been trying to get our hands on webcams. We cannot.
So that's what it would require, a bunch of webcams so that the...
It also requires a lot of legal work because you can't live stream from a classroom and show students.
I see another hand up, Sebastian.
Yep, I'm allowing them to speak at this time.
Hi, Bobby Jo Lundy, 149 Reuben Care Road. Question on if a teacher has contracted COVID and and maybe it's in your health plan in my ignorance if I haven't seen it yet, are you shutting that whole school down? Is it, because obviously they've been exposed to 2 sets of children then at that point. Is that just that classroom have to quarantine, or even a student if they have contracted it and have exposed everybody else to it? How is that going to work then?
Let me say this is the information that I have today, and it could change in 10 minutes, it could change tomorrow. But from what I understand, only those who have come into direct contact with that person would be quarantined or asked to quarantine, or it would be shared with them that they have come into contact with someone who has COVID-19. Other than that, it would depend, again, back to that contact tracing. For example, are they a coach? Are they something else with extracurriculars whereby they would have reached a very broad spectrum of students? If they are, for example, a kindergarten teacher, they're not coming into contact with first, second, third, fourth graders, but they are coming into contact with those students in their classroom, whether it's a Monday, Tuesday, like you're saying, Bobby Jo, or it's a Thursday, Friday. So if that happens, we do have to shut that down. And those students who would have direct contact would be asked or shared, the information would be shared that they would need to quarantine because they've come into direct contact. And that's going to get, I've seen some things that are starting across the nation with teachers And I don't know how you protect their HIPAA information then when, you know, they're the person who's contracted it, and obviously they would be one of the things that would shut it down. But I guess it could be because another student would have it within the classroom and you would still have to do the same thing. So.
Okay, so to clarify, so what you're saying is if a teacher or a student in that classroom has contracted it, that classroom itself would be the ones that have to isolate then and quarantine, and the rest of the school could stay open?
What I am saying right now is that is what we're being led to believe at this point in time. That information could change 3 minutes from now. It could change tomorrow. It is going to be up to the Department of Health to be sharing that contact tracing information as we are sharing it with them. They will make us determine what to do with that situation. But I would believe logically that is what we have understood all of our information to say at this point in time.
Okay, and what happens to those kids? Are they, like, say they have contracted COVID, are they responsible then to still continue to do their work? I mean, obviously, you know, when you're sick like that, they could possibly have hospital stays and things like that. How would that affect their schooling then?
It would be treated like any other illness and absence. They would be given certain leeway on having their assignments done. They would still be provided their work. So they would, it wouldn't be treated any differently than any other illness, the flu, strep throat, for example, mono. Those are some ones that really do knock kids down, it seems, at their ages. So it would be treated the same way.
Okay, thank you so much for your information.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Christina, what's considered direct contact according to the guidance you've been given? Is it in a classroom, in the same room? Is it coming within 6 feet? What is considered direct contact?
That's a question for the Department of Health. What we're told is just direct contact. We have a lot of questions about all of this. I don't have that answer yet, Ron.
Yeah, see, they need to clarify what they mean by direct contact.
Correct. And I would make the assumption that direct contact, according to the CDC, I think it's the CDC, we've looked at so many pieces of information, but I think direct contact means 15 minutes with those people directly with you, confined into a space directly with you. I think that's what it means specifically, but again, with the sciences that are changing so rapidly, I don't wish to say something that would then be, oh, well, Christina said. You know, I am not a medical professional at all in this realm.
We'll give it another minute or so to see if there might be a question or two. And okay, we do have
I
a
am
question.
seeing another hand.
Hello,
We can hear you.
this is Caroline LaCrone, 1520 Fairview Drive in Montoursville. And I would like to know what Dr. Mathers has to say about, you know, all these questions about the medical stuff. I mean, she is a doctor of, you know, nursing, so she might have a little insight. Unless she doesn't want to answer the question.
What specific question? You mean regarding direct contact or close contact? Was that the question you're asking me?
Yeah, or the quarantine time. Like how, when the kids, you know, the temperature and the recheck and, you know.
Well, again, I have to agree with Mrs. Basin that the Department of Health needs to give us some more guidance. And if a child has a temperature, well, then they should go to their healthcare provider to identify whether they look at their symptoms, identify whether or not they should be tested for COVID, or if they test positive for strep and they have strep, then, you know, get a medical excuse to come back. But those are all details that have yet to be worked out.
Okay.
Does
Thank
that
you.
help at all?
It does. It
Okay.
does. Thanks.
It's not just if you have a temperature, you're out for 14 days. I'm sure that's not the way it's going to work.
Okay.
Anyway.
I'm also kind of curious about the contact tracing. I guess there's a lot of liabilities and laws about that. And will you keep us updated on what they are?
Honestly, I think there's no laws. I think there's no governance on this yet. From the persons that I've been speaking to, this is all new territory and the laws don't even speak to it yet. So it will come down to lawsuits happening and decisions being made and judges deciding. So I think we're all kind of in that waiting game mode to see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Caroline.
Well, board, while we're, I guess, waiting, maybe another hand or two will come up. But as far as future meetings, I mean, we know we're boxed in. There's only so much we can do. Perhaps if we get the technology in place and we in the administration can meet perhaps in like maybe the gymnasium or one of the chorus rooms or something where we're all spaced out appropriately and could film and then show that to the public. We'd see them, they'd say us. Maybe that's something we can do. We can shoot for that. And Dan and Sebastian, if you just keep us up to date on what our technology status is, and maybe we could pull that off. I know we want to be back in the office, so to speak, as soon as we can. But I think at this point we're it's like with school. We're just waiting to see what our avenues are, what we're allowed to do. So we're boxed in. So we have a couple of hands up, so that's good.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to allow Kyle to speak.
Hi, yes, Kyle Taylor here, 172 Woodland Court. Just want to say not in favor of the hybrid model, but looks like that's kind of, what we're locked into at this point. My question is around social distancing. I have my daughter going in kindergarten this year, and she's what does that look like trying to get a bunch of 5-year-olds to social distance? How is that possible? Just curious about that.
I'll be curious at this answer too. Thanks.
His daughter's adorable, and
Hi, Sue.
Kyle, this is one of our biggest challenges. You are a dad of a 5-year-old, and they are unpredictable, wonderful, but curious about everything. So trying to keep them socially distanced, trying to just keep their masks on, trying to teach them to wash their hands, trying to make sure that they don't touch other people, quite honestly, is a task in and of itself when you have one of them. Now add 20 to a room, and that is sometimes very chaotic, as Mrs. Marriott can tell you. When we are considering these things, we don't like hybrid. We don't like hybrid. But when we're looking at all ages of students, these are some of our biggest concerns, is that, how are we going to do this, especially playing? We want the kids to play. We want them to have those mask breaks. So we have a lot to teach them prior to coming to school. And if you could help us with that, that would be amazing, because the more that they know about the expectations of what they're going to face in school, yep, you're going to have a mask on, and you might have it on, this part of the day. If you ride the bus, you must have your mask on, and you shouldn't be touching your mask or touching other people's masks. So those are things that every elementary teacher is working on, as well as all of us up through all of those grade levels and in offices, and making sure that we now mandate even the adults, you must have your masks on. That is what we are charged to do. So to tell you what it's going to look like, I don't have a clue. I'm not going to lie. I don't have a clue what it is going to look like when children are children. And we have a lot of structure, but you know,
I have a couple thoughts. At least the benefit of hybrid is, I know like Cummings doing this, if we could take out the extra chairs so that there's literally only 10 chairs in the room and put them at tables, and then maybe we get some circle placemats for floor time and we tell them the floor is hot lava and they have to stay on their lily pad or the hot lava is going to get them.
I love it, Sue.
Order a magic wand, but they're all out, so.
Dr. Berry, if I have teachers telling the floor is hot lava, I would deflect those calls to you, please.
I would just add in that, you know, I feel very confident in our kindergarten teachers. They do a lot to train our students about what school is like. And I have a lot of confidence that they will continue to teach our young ones that this is how school is operating at this point. And I can't say that we'll have perfection, but I have confidence that we'll get them there.
Thank you.
Mr. Schimmel, do you have any hands up?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Bobby Jo Lundy again. So how are we ensuring that the children are going to stay comfortable without the air conditioning in the elementary schools? CDC saying that fans should not be used because it could spread the virus through the air. So we know this has been a daunting task for the past few years of the temperatures within the elementary classrooms. So what are we doing to help these students in that situation?
Really, we're just in a hybrid. That does help them so that they are not in it as long, because when you are faced with temperatures like that all week, they're in it for 2 days. We will be giving them at the elementary levels more frequent mask breaks probably than some of the other levels, because they need it. They're small children. They need that mask break a little bit more. So we can't physically do anything in the building other than the social distancing, so that they have more time behind their desk shields. And that is something I want to share. I'm so glad you brought that up. Let me see. I think I have a picture of a desk shield. Hold on, let me see. Mrs. Breon sent me one. I had it pulled up. I bet you I took it back down. Hold on one second. I apologize. I don't see it on here. But I did want to show a desk shield, because a desk shield for a smaller child, kindergarten, first and second grade and primary levels, it's a 21-inch shield that sits on their desk in front of them. So when they are socially distanced and they are sitting behind their shield, they don't have to wear the mask. And again, that was, you know, one of those considerations that we were making when we had to come down to making a choice. That was one of them. So you're right. We can't change the buildings, but we certainly can try to make it as comfortable as possible. We chose face shields as well, so that that mask wasn't right on a child's face. If it goes into the winter, they have the gaiters that we will be supplying to them. But the face mask is, it allows them a little bit more freedom where it's not right tight on their face as well. So they can choose which of those they need to have on and at what times based on the social distancing. But if they are at their desks and they're not reaching and touching someone else, and they're behaving themselves and they're doing task work, project-based work at their desks, they can sit behind their shields. And it will also be up to the teacher, because we have to remember that our teachers, without our teachers, we're not going to be functioning. So if the teachers are asking them to keep the masks on, then they're going to be doing so for a reason, to keep the masks on and to keep them safe. And I think the students have to abide by that as well. So
are you having the teachers take their fans out of the rooms then? I just get concerned because I know my one child, she definitely overheats. And I've had to come pick her up several times when it was so hot that because of the heat. So what are you doing on those days that it does get those temperatures of 90 or 80 plus in those classrooms? Are you going to do like maybe a half day for those students, or how are you going to help those students so that they don't get, I mean, they're not going to be wearing masks obviously, but that's still an issue within the school there.
That will have to be on a case-by-case basis. I can't answer that right now for every situation because I don't know.
Okay, so are they allowed to have fans in the rooms or not?
Again, that I would have to ask someone, because we get reports just like you said, don't put the fan in the room, put the fan in the room, leave the window open, don't leave the window open. Then this one has allergies, then you can't open the windows. We just have to be able to try to work through it the best that we can. I don't have the answers for every situation. I'm so sorry. I wish I did.
Fine. No, that's fine. Just so that, parents know kind of going in, how to prepare the kids too. If it's going to be really hot,
exactly,
then we need to know what to do.
Yep. We did install bottle fillers in all of the buildings. We had Mr. Nafo changed out some of the water fountains because we're not supposed to be using those either, but we installed bottle fillers. So the students will always be allowed to have a bottle of water with them. At any time that they need the water, they are allowed to have the water.
Are you going to provide, say there's students, we do have students within the district that are lower income and possibly couldn't afford to send a water bottle. Will you provide at least one bottle of water for them that they could refill on a daily basis or not?
We did not go that far, no.
Okay.
Thanks for the questions.
Thank you.
Bill, go ahead. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Schimmel. If I could speak on behalf of the board, and I don't think any of my fellow board members will object to this, I just want to thank you, Mrs. Basin, and your administrative staff for the many hours that you've put in on this. I know it's exhausting. Our outstanding faculty has also worked many hours on this. I realize, as I said before, there's no college course entitled How to Deliver Education During a Global Pandemic. A lot of this you've had to just, play it day by day as the information out of Harrisburg has changed. What used to be week by week now seems to be day by day. Your decision that the administration made, it was a no-win decision. You'll be criticized, you'll be praised. Quite honestly, when I look at the numbers, had this been something that came to a vote of the board, my vote would have been to put the kids in 5 days a week, put masks on them. And I know the kindergarten teachers are laughing at that right now. But the damage that's been done, keeping these kids out of school, it's real. And this cannot go on indefinitely. At some point, we have to get our kids back in school. And as this most recent news out of Harrisburg arrived yesterday, yeah, we're basically handcuffed. It's it's an unfortunate situation, but when I look at the numbers, and the most recent numbers today were 400 in Lycoming County, with a population of over 113,000. That equates to 3.5 out of every 1,000. I just can't, I can't qualify that as something to, it's almost like it's a panic. And I hate to see it that way. But I know it's late, so I'll just close this by saying you and your administration have worked many, many hours on this, and I don't think most people know that. Board members know it. And your faculty, our outstanding faculty, they know it because they have also spent a lot of time. And this is all something brand new. So as we move forward, The board wishes you the very best in every decision that you have to make from here on in. Thank you. That's all.
Well put, Bill.
Very much appreciated, Bill. We have excellent people. And again, I am very grateful that we have a team of people who can come together, and we don't agree. I can say that honestly. We don't agree about everything, and it's great because when you can listen to opposing viewpoints, again, sometimes you realize what you're hanging your opinion on is just that, an opinion, and it's an emotion. You have to constantly be reevaluating that. So I really appreciate the collaboration. And you're right, we have excellent faculty, absolutely excellent faculty. Top notch. You will not find more caring people for our kids for 20,000 years. You're not going to find that. They are just excellent people. So very proud of all of them. They make a great team.
Okay, board members, anybody else? If not, I'm not seeing any hands, so I guess we'll close the public comment session, Sebastian, and board members, if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do a second on that?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
All right. Good night, folks.
Good night. Thanks, Dave.